Hey man, this is my guy right here, man. So I'm gonna do a tribute show to my guy. Drop some information because I was so proud to hear about full recovery, man. That's gonna be amazing, man. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too far into it. Maybe I'm jumping the gun, but there was a lot of conversation about it already. So I'm gonna go in, man. Y'all stay tuned and y'all rock with me for about an hour. Let's go, man. Brother Moses, man. As you know, I am a part of that B1 network. We deliver content and we got work to do. Let's eat. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm. Man, I definitely hope this mic is coming out hot. I would hate to have to do this whole stream again. Let's eat. Man, anybody that follows my Instagram knows that I am a huge Errol Spence fan. I am more than a fan. This is my dude right here, man. Family even. To the extent that gone all the way back to watch the Olympic fights of my guy. What up, Kenny? So, of course, when I heard the news that there was a tragic accident after 3 o'clock in the morning or at around 3 o'clock in the morning, it hit me hard. I was at work. Somebody was like, Moses, you better be sitting down when you see this, man. The champ, bro. And he was almost in tears. And that's a Mexican brother. He was almost in tears. He knows just how much this guy means to me in my life, man. Boxing was done to me, man. Until this guy. Full recovery expected, man. I'm going to scroll down my timeline just so you can bear witness to it. Been watching it for a minute. When Ugas put them hands on that boy. Javante, of course. That one. This image right here is fire. Let me try to make it a little bit bigger so y'all can see it, man. Hold on. That one. So a big boxing fan, man. I could go through it and break down some of the fights and some of the epic moments. When I first became a fan of Errol Spence Jr., the first thing that I did was try to tell my cousin about him. And when I was showing the YouTube videos, as often you want to show the highlight reels, but instead of showing the highlight reels, I went right to those fights where Errol Spence was a little bit susceptible, vulnerable, got hit, stung, boom, because I wanted to show him how well brother had to take a punch, man. Some of them good ones, knee buckler punches where common person may be folded by those shots. And I was like, now that you've seen these, let me show you the highlight reel, the one-hitter quitters, the body shots. Let me show you some of the epic battles that he's been in. How did he earn his title? Had to break it down when going all the way overseas into somebody else's territory and fighting that battle against Kell Brooks. That was a major battle right there, a major victory. Out of all these battles and victories, the thing that we take with us is that he is a fighter. And yet something stood out to me, Kenny. Something stood out to me because I was scrolling through some of those YouTube channels where they do boxing talk. Boxing talk is a heavy conversation. Boxing. And on one of them, there was a poll up. And on that poll, it was a bit of speculation. And that speculation this soon after the car accident, I thought was distasteful. But it was something that was said even while I was at work at the water fountain, at the coffee hole, at the drinking hole. And they said, well, based off of some of the conjecture from the other coach, Errol Spence Jr. may have a drinking problem. That was the speculation. After the victory, you'll see him with the turn-up celebration, no shirt on, all chains dangling, Look like he's at a nightclub. He got the I'm going to the party vibe on. I'm finna celebrate life. Retired my mom and dad type energy and all of that. That celebrity status, that something that he had worked for and fought for resonated and came to success. He manifested that vision and it happened, and he unified. And his city turned up with him, and his city loved him. Even played the music, the city's theme music at the fight. So many hundreds of miles away. And it gave him life, and it gave him vigor to pull through that. I think it was the 9th round when they played that music for him. And on my scorecard, it was almost a clean sweep from that point forward. So he's a fighter, and we know it, and so prayers go out. But I had to address it, man. I got to say something about it, Kenny. B1 for life, man. What's good, boss? I got to speak on it because there's something that stood out to me and what that poll said. You could look it up. It's the, I'm going to give you the name of the show right now on YouTube of the Content Creators channel. It's called, what is it called? Showbiz the Adult. Showbiz the Adult. Look that up when you get a moment. You'll see it. There's a survey out that he has, and the survey is about drinking and driving and what should be the consequences of such. And in my B1 format, the way my mind works, the first thing I thought was, wasn't there a different case in Texas where there was like a car accident or something, probably back in 2015, I think it was. And what was the defense in that case? And thus the title, Errol Spence Jr. Affluenza defense. Y'all remember that Affluenza defense, man, right? Let me know if you remember that Affluenza defense, Kenny, and what was stated during that trial. I'm going to get into it. I got about an hour to rock, and then after that, I know somebody in the B1 network will probably be going live, and I always like to support those folks who are going live. But for this conversation, let me go on and jump into it and add a little bit of color to this narrative before it jumps off the gun and becomes one of those social trending topics about a DUI and what happens with celebrities and celebrity fame and all of that. Do you mind if I jump into that? First, I'm going to start off with a little bit of my own story, I'm going to preach to you for a second. I'm going to give you my educated opinion, and I'm going to give you some context that I need them to understand as they approach this conversation. Then I'm going to jump into that Affluenza case just a little bit. Close it all off in about an hour or less. That's how we going to rock. Rock with me, man. Let me do something with the volume because the volume is just a little bit high for my tasting, but I do like to have my music in the background. I love music, and sometimes I be looking to drop bars. All right, there we go. I think that should be cool right there. So on the screen, I'm going to leave up the images of Errol Spence Jr. They said he's in stable condition, no broken bones after the Dallas car crash, ejected from his Ferrari. So much that we could go into there. But right now, here's what I want to do. I want to start off with the context or a little bit about my story and my perspective. We'll build from there. Let's see how this works. You know what they did to me? This is not what I wanted them to do. I don't want you going into the whole story yet. And I don't want to share that on that screen. That's my word. Although it would be perfectly fine for you to see, this is the context of which I write. And I know there was a YouTuber who said, show me your writing capability. And so we're going to start this conversation off with the perspective from Brother Moses. A little bit of insight into how I think. Let's begin. I come from nothing, and there is a psychological impact of poverty that I experience that I'm going to openly discuss. First, I expect you to understand a few underlying themes without explanation or objection. Number one, the power of desire. Number two, the social conditioning process that takes place. And number three, the historical context pertaining to civil rights under capitalism. Those are prerequisite to this discussion. I focus on cultural factors with an emphasis on becoming high potential, accomplished, diverse talent, like my guy Errol Spence. High potential, world champion. Accomplished, unified, title holder. And diverse talent, meaning that he's an African American, Texas boy. My approach is untraditional, it's transformational, it's disruptive to the status quo. As diverse talent, I must be without excuse or blemish, like a DUI. I have to be exceptional and unyielding, a superstar talent for me to make it. I must adjust to microaggression while compartmentalizing the macro, like politics, or the racial climate, or the economic climate. Why do I have to do all of that? It is because I desire victory even more than fairness. How I execute to achieve those ends and with what means that are available to me, those are always going to be secondary and tertiary ideas to what I execute on and for whom I execute for. Run it back. Because I desire victory even more than fairness, how I execute to achieve those ends and with what means that are available to me, those will always be secondary and tertiary ideas to what I execute on and for whom. What do you mean? Start from the back, work its way forward using your deductive reasoning. Secondary and tertiary ideas means these are not my priority. They're not a priori. They come behind what I execute on. So I'll always be judged on what I do, what I say, the statements I make, my responses and such. And for whom do I execute? So it's always about my intentionality. What did I intend to accomplish and for whom? Why are those important? Because I am B1 and there is no other way that my mind operates. Working our way back forward. How do I execute to achieve those ends? Means it would always be under scrutiny where I spend my time and my money. What do I invest in? Someone will always say, well, I could have, should have, and would have done X, Y, and Z. And that will always be a judgment or a critical analysis against me. Why is that? Let's get to the first part. It is because I desire victory even more than fairness. Can I make it plain? I challenge being, or the challenge with being a diverse talent is that my credibility, my perceived value is always in question. I am a minority. I'm unfamiliar except through the lens created by others. There's an unknown variable that was hard to solve for. And most people stopped algebraically and socially at simple mathematics. They avoided the more complex algorithms like people who go on tangents, people who throw up gang signs, and people who are so economically astute they need a cosigner. Tangent, sine, cosine, all of that. I digress. The equation is not balanced economically, as many inherited the profits from the labor of the fewer. And here comes the great equalizer, education at risk. Boy, you ought to be smarter than that. Failure, then, is characterized by those born in the lowest ranks of economic quintiles. And by painting diverse talent as risky, the majority secures their competitive advantage. Brings me to some key points that I have to elucidate on. First key point, the cultivation process of natural talent to achieve success. Cultivation of natural talent to achieve success. Make it plain. What does a nigga go through to become successful. Now, we could take that from a number of different industries. We can measure it from a number of different indices. But there is a correlation. I think they use the colloquialism or the whatever you call that thing, the dog in the fight versus the fight in the dog. But having come from poverty intensifies just how willing I am to go all the way. It is cultivated in an environment a petri dish environment, struggle and failure and addiction and criminality, and thus they painted across my face. And it is because of those conditions that my fight is magnified within me. All right, rock with me. It's not just a perception. It is not just my own internalization of the criminality or the internalization of the social conditioning. It's not just me saying they don't like me. It's not just my burning desire to be accepted. It's not just me seeking approval, but it is those conditions and how they impacted me psychologically and how they continue to impact me psychologically. I am pushed. I am driven. My ambition is defined by the psychological impacts of poverty that I experience and openly discuss. All right, now there's another idea or a key point that I gotta bring out here. See, there's an idea of earning an opportunity. Let me expand on that key point in simple black and white. Entitlement is a luxury and a privilege seldom praised at the lowest ranks. See, when you look at the bottom and they're talking about entitlement and entitlement programs and welfare and people who feel like this society owes them something, it's not a praiseworthy thing, but entitlement at the highest rungs that says every opportunity that I've been afforded have been created by my decisions and my ability to execute. Entitlement. I am entitled to the riches and the salary and the wages and the rewards of my hard work. Entitlement. It wasn't by the socialist doctrine of paving streets and roads and lights and plumbing and the distribution of water and the clean air. And it wasn't any of those things that allowed the cultivation of success or progress. No, it was by your own merit. When you're at the highest rungs. It wasn't government interventionism then. The invisible hand that guides the free market capitalist system that keep competition fair and equal. Yeah, that's a pipe dream. Because we know politically, socially, and economically, that invisible hand is not so invisible. And it touches our lives through the criminal justice. It touches our lives through the education system. It touches our lives through the access to a living wage employment situation. It touches our lives in the conditions that we grow up in and the psychological impacts that are correlated to those conditions. Economically, it touches us intergenerationally. The likelihood of success earmarked by the success acquired and achieved by your parents and by their parents. That's where that invisible hand is not so invisible. That's where this idea of earning an opportunity can become problematic. See, for one person, I am forced to think that I am given an opportunity. that there is somebody, some hiring manager, there is some higher authority, there is some power to which my opportunities are afforded to me, which means that I am operating from a mind state of scarcity and of submission. If I continue to operate from a mind state of scarcity and submission, then I am not equalizing or maximizing my own potential, my power to create opportunity. Simple, black and white. The idea that not everyone gets a chance to win is often rebutted by those with unacknowledged privilege in America, whom often say, well, everyone has the same opportunities here. We can all make it. I may not change their mind state, and the fact that their worldview is immature, underdeveloped, and unrealistic does not prevent my accountability to prepare for and to execute against real odds. If an opportunity was given that I am fortunate to have received, it was up to me to capitalize on it. That sentiment, as problematic as it becomes in this culture, prompts affluenza. My ability to elevate despite those odds makes me a celebrity, and it gives me success guilt. It does not grant me a privilege, however, to judge the less fortunate stereotypically with prejudice. The celebrity effect. That is the extent to which one's psyche might be impacted by beating those odds. Social mobility study by the Brookings Institute points it out. They say it's hard to get social mobility unless you come from a socially upwardly mobile family. What happens psychologically if you are the one who did not come from a socially upwardly mobile family, but you defy those odds? You are new money. Given the conditions of a lack of financial literacy and a lack of drive or intentionality, purpose, and meaningful strategic investment in one's future and intergenerational wealth creation, with all of those conditions that are still haunting and plaguing the minds of new money, affluenza. The audacity of diverse talent to succeed requires nothing short of a I am God complex, reborn in that individual who has to survive individually against non-diverse threats. Now, I tenure a culturally powerful religious illusion right here. To succeed as diverse talent is often to break a generational curse. And that's like calling the upper class our economic promised land, or calling the limelight a Garden of Eden for socialites. Success richens the soul, and it sickens the spirits of its disciples. It's the root of all evil that prevails yet again, but yet in God we trust for our own deliverance. All right, my abstract way of thinking has just been elucidated upon. I'm gonna get a little bit more granular and a little bit more simplistic with these easy, quick one-liners that people already know. People of modest means do not get empathy. It's a classic bootstrap argument, pull yourself up, that they should work smarter if they can't work harder, that they have the same amount of time in the day as those who have become rich, that they are poor because they choose to be poor. It's a choice. Why don't you choose smarter investments? It is said that they lack the skills, the ambition, the connections, the motivation, and the willpower to be successful in America if they are poor. That they want to rely on other people like the government to do for them those things that they don't want to do for themselves. It is said that they are the victims of their own circumstance and that they don't have any excuses. Affluenza. Let me come on over here and get on into it, because some of us may have forgotten the impact of this case here. Definition: affluenza is a social condition arising from the desire to be more wealthy or successful. It can also be defined as the inability to understand the consequences of one's actions because of financial privilege. How does it connect? What is the connection, Brother Moses? Let me check real quick. I know that there were some folks in the chat. Want to make sure that I'm acknowledging y'all for coming and stopping through and rocking with the boy. Got my guy Kenny in here. Some of the things that were called out about Errol Spence, immediately they said that his Ferrari was speeding. You got the video footage that covers the crash itself and showing the car flip. Thank God I didn't have to see my guy ejected from that seat. They said he wasn't wearing his seat belt. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, so they said that he was clubbing, and one of the other fight coaches or one of the other boxing coaches said that Errol Spence Jr. Good evening, Brother O'Shea. How's it going, Elder? What up, Brother George Macon? They said that Errol Spence Jr. may have a drinking problem. He needs to slow down. What are some of the things that, man, let me put the link in the chat, because at this point we can have the conversation. Man, where there are more than 10 gathered, man, we can get it in. So in order to invite, I click this link here, I copy it, Control C, I move it right here. Evening Jeremy has awakened. I dropped the chat link, or I dropped the link right there in the chat. Y'all can more than welcome to come on and build with me as we make this case known. Affluenza. What happens to new money? See, a lot of people jump in there and they just want to say, well, what should the punishment be if? And it's speculation at this time, but it's not stopping the seeds from being planted that this young brother was making stupid decisions, from the judgment and the criticism against our young champion who just retired his mom and dad in one fight. His natural skill and ability have elevated him to a position of economic gain. And why is that important? See, they can skip over all of that conversation without looking right there inside of Texas, where there was a young white boy who was acquitted almost. They was given a sentence, but they said, 10 years probation, a slap on the wrist. Why? What was the argument that defense used in that court case? They said, well, this kid was raised rich. This kid does not know his, what he's doing wrong right here. He's privileged, and his privilege, the monetary value, is blocking his lens, his worldview, from being able to determine that his decisions and the things that he is doing is wrong. Affluenza. Before I jump into that guy, let's stick with affluenza and see if it applies here as a defense. My brother, there we go. We got one, give it about 5. Go on mute real quick, my brother, Elder, and then I'm gonna break down this affluenza, and then we'll move into a conversation about how this relates to those African Americans who have achieved a bit of celebrity, that same celebrity that they battle with, right? They battle with it because they have success guilt. They may still be deeply connected and passionately connected to those who are less fortunate, and they may still operate from a lens that is non-judgmental and non-prejudiced against those of a lower rung. And because they have this conflicting energy going up against their own ambition, it is impacting them psychologically. What happens when they get that money? How do they sustain new money? You just gave them a $25 million advance in order to do what? Buys a Ferrari and a fast car. Why? Because people in the hood will respect it. Because my machismo, because my capitalist nation and the social conditioning that I've undergone and I continue to undergo tells me that these material things are of import. Even more important than the hustle and ambition that it took to achieve these things. So my story can be lost and my legacy can get washed away with other people speculating that it was the wrong that I committed, the decision that I made, I am at fault, while at the same time, simultaneously defending those who are already rich, have been rich, their parents have rich, or have been rich, and never want to talk about the intergenerational wealth that was created historically through slavery, the disenfranchisement of the other, the fewer, and the diverse talent here in America. Never want to have that conversation. Appreciate you, Chef. And the link is open. So, Affluenza. Short video there that we could get into. I won't get into it, but I will get into this breaking down Affluenza, and I'm going to speed read, so stick with me. Affluenza, a combination of the words affluence and influenza, is symptomatic of a culture with strong materialistic values, which holds up the bag. It holds up the accumulation of riches as one of the highest achievements, even more than your spirituality, like Brother Gab Media. Even more than your connection to people, like Brother George Macon. Even more than your connection to history and our ancestors and legacy, like the B1 Network. Even more, I digress. People said to be affected by the condition typically find the very economic success they have been so vigorously chasing ends up leaving them feeling unfulfilled and wishing for yet more, living in a constant state of needing to keep up with the Joneses. And that's why you buy a Ferrari in the first place. Causes and symptoms. Now remember, this view of affluenza is from a Caucasian perspective of one who had inherited wealth. So in our case, Brother Errol Spence Jr.'s case, what happens when you are suddenly thrusted into wealth? Affluenza. All right, keep it going. Causes and symptoms. Proponents of the affluenza theory stipulate that those afflicted subscribe to the idea that money can buy happiness, but often find that the pursuit of wealth robs them of fulfillment and leaves them perpetually unsatisfied. They often have trouble functioning in a normal society and distinguishing between right and wrong, as the bubble of privilege in which they reside insulates them from understanding. See, this is where they go in. Brother Jeremy has awakened. Don't be fooled. In a normal society, it's not affluenza. The affluent have the privilege of less policing. And so they have the privilege of getting away with similar crimes, such as drinking and driving. Police checkpoints aren't in the suburbs. Police are not hanging outside of the clubs and the establishments where affluent people frequent. Yes, they can get caught up. Not saying that you don't see rich people going to jail, but yes, they are defended. Brother O'Shea Duke Jackson just went live. That is my guy, and that is about my cue. You see Brother Gab Media and jumped on. You see Brother O'Shea Duke Jackson that jumped on live. Those are the major platforms. That is where the content is. Let's do something real quick here. Bring on a couple of people for a couple of perspectives. Then we will jump off and join our fellowship or our broader social media community. Brother O'Shea, you came in first. You see the causes and symptoms of affluenza. Am I reaching here? Am I conflating the conversation by saying Errol Spence Jr. has a defense with affluenza? Tell me what your thoughts are, brother.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir. You are coming in loud and clear. Appreciate you for joining the stream.
Well, let me tell you what, Brother Moses. When I see, and no affront to you or anything, but when I see people like yourself with just getting started, and when you put out the call, look, if you want to come on up, and then nobody seems to want to come up, sometimes they need somebody else to come up to encourage them to want to come up.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. So I appreciate you being the first.
Oh yeah. Look, I don't have to be the first. I just want to be one of the first. Yeah, but now getting on into the point of this whole thing. Hey, there's an old saying that, and I know you've heard it. There's an old saying. We call rich folks. It's a term we call rich folks. They are not altruistic. It's a very fancy way of saying they're crazy or they're odd, but since they're so rich, they can get away with it. We accept it. I forgot the specific term we give it, but Yeah, when put a and see, I had to get a little biblical on this because when you take it from a Holy Bible perspective, you can start understanding a lot of what's going on. See, a lot of people don't know why, and this pertaining to the saints, why the saints actually get up and go to work. It says, and the saints they get up and go to work so that they may have to give to those that are less fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? When your only when your only purpose for doing all this, gathering um, all this materialistic stuff, and the gain and to garner certain favor with people in certain positions, if it's only for your own personal gain, then guess what? There's a whole lot of stuff that you don't consider. What's wrong to you? What's wrong to everybody else? You don't consider they don't consider it wrong to themselves. It's just
Mm.
it's just this is just what we do to get to where we trying to be. So
That's right.
therefore, hey, it's right for me. You ever heard that argument?
Absolutely.
So when you dealing with, and then there's another verse that says, look, a poor man a poor man in his integrity is better than a rich man in his perverseness.
Yes.
So guess what? If you don't have some integrity, if you don't have some moral code in which you go by that is beyond one's own self, look, you can get all the money in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? That person would sit there and kill off everybody to try to keep somebody from getting what he already got. Not knowing they're gonna end up once you get there with all that wealth, and you stated this, you still got that empty hole somewhere that all that wealth is not filling.
That's right. That
So
wealth is not fulfilling. That spiritual sense is lacking right now. That connection, that compassion. You know, there were people inside that Earl Spence chat. Once it was made public, they were immediately jumping in and calling it everything but a tragic accident. Everything but.
you know, I didn't the specific thing you're talking about.
Hmm.
I've never even heard of it. Look what I'm talking about. I'm going specifically on what you were just reading and the definition of it, and see that rang so loud and clear with me because, like I said, growing up, rich folks got a specific category of what they get called when they doing some of the same dumb crap that poor folks done.
Oh yes.
Poor folk were just low down, dirty, and they ought to know better. They ought to do better. Rich folk, well, he rich. He just look. He can afford to be stupid.
Yeah. Let me bring in my brother George Macon, head of the Coon Deportation Department, man. Brother George Macon, am I equivocating? Am I going too far to say that this affluenza may apply here as a defense for Earl Spence Jr.?
No, I mean we've seen this story before. We've seen this story before. You said something that was key when I first tuned in. When you said when a lot of times we make a lot of money and we still loyal to the people where we come from, but we don't hold like we don't, first of all we don't have nobody holding us accountable, and we don't hold them accountable. Everything it's just the money is just there now. So but we some of your friends they either got to change their behavior or they got to go. He responsible family, he's the family. I mean, like I said, I've seen this. We got many stories when we talk about Jerome Brown, who was killed in a car accident in 1990 view. In the Corvette when they hit the tree, played for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know,
Yeah,
Pelly Lindbergh, 87. He played for the Flyers. I mean, I can just go on and on and on. But there was rumors always speculated that the young brother drink too much, but I had nothing has came out that he was actually drunk, so I don't want to put that out. But it's been said that he had a drinking problem. But I just when I looked at that video and I seen how fast that Porsche was flipping over like that, what it lets me know is
a
this is just
Ferrari. Yeah,
that Ferrari is flipped over like that. First thing I started to do was first thing I did was pray for the
That's
brother.
right.
And I posted it on my channel. I wanted to put that energy and that spiritual energy out there to the brother, man, and to his family. But that's what I felt. And but when I look at that picture, you know, I remember, I remember when I was young, and I didn't have $27 million, but I was hood rich, you know, for the hood, and I remember just young and having money and not a care in the world, not giving a fuck. And when I see how that thing was flipping over, I could just see, you come from poverty to having all the things that you ever want, man. And, you take risks. I just hope that this is a wake up call for him.
Oh yes.
You know, you know, um, they said that he don't have no broken bones. He got a little bit of shattered teeth, but he don't have no broken bones. Where his career is snatched from him. So his blessings is there. I mean, I can't speak for no belief coming from the sky, but I'm definitely a believer in the Most High. So for me, when I seen that ain't nothing but the Most High. I mean, he was given another chance because when you look at that accident,
Absolutely.
man, people don't live from that. People don't usually live through that kind of. He got a perfect life, and I hope that he recognizes that now and begin to preserve himself. Because when we're young, we do a lot of messed up stuff, man. Hey, I mean, it happens. It happens, and I just hope that he can, he can learn from this and look at what he actually survived through. Because he scared a lot of people. Like I said, he's responsible for a lot of people. Not only just himself. It's a lot of people that's counting on him. So
That's
I
right.
think that as he's sitting there now, he's recognizing and realizing that as the man, he's the man of his family. He's the man of his family. So he has to mature fast because he was born with a gift. Everybody don't got that gift. If that was the case, everybody would be doing what he's doing, and everybody can't. He was blessed and born with a gift that's helping him be able to feed his family and do certain things. So I just hope that he can mature from this and learn from this because that was horrifying, man. Seeing that
Horrifying.
car.
I went back and forth on it. Like, do I actually show the footage, the video? Should I keep that energy in the air? I also went back and forth on whether or not I should even respond to that stupid ass survey that was put out that was about the drinking and about those other things and not about holding our brother up. But at the same time, we know that those darts are being sharpened. They are sharpening their sword to come after the young brother. You would be a fool to think not. One of the commenters in the chat said that they should strip his titles because of this. Others said lock him up. I mean, and with that kind of rhetoric already circulating, where will the other narrative come from, if not from those who love the brother? With all intents and purposes, I want to be that voice that says my guy Errol Spence is empowering lives. There is no cage for that man. Damn, I need my brother to fight through. That's what I need.
Yeah. Yeah, and then on top of that, ain't no telling what he's probably going through mentally and psychologically. Probably having to be in the breadwinners for his family and being in a position like he listen to him when he's talking his press conference, and he does this for his daughters. He does this for his family. So no telling what type of weight he has on his shoulders where he has to win. There is no losing here.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times people just see the talent, the glitz and the glare, but they don't see what go on behind closed doors in the dark and what brothers go through, and why sometimes we behave as men the way we do, and why we make the decisions that we make. Because when you on top and all the cameras is there and everybody want a piece of you, who can you really talk to that really don't want nothing from you, that genuinely care about you? So yeah, it's a lot there's a lot that coming. He's the world champion. You know what I'm saying? He's been popping for a while now. Everybody's pushing and tugging and pulling on a brother from all different angles, man. So no, ain't no telling psychologically what he going through. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
People will always. So they tell you once that's just what it is when you in the spotlight, man. They love you and hate you at the same time, man.
Absolutely. Well, I love them and I love them, so I stick it right. That's where I'm at. I love them and I love them. Got to see my brother prevail through this. Man, that's my champion. All right, so we know we got other folks who are going live right now. I didn't want to keep us too long. We are at about that 45-minute mark. There's a couple of more things that I wanted to break down here, just about this affluenza. As we see, this is about money. And this is about being a cash cow and being used as a cash cow. So even once you've acquired a level of success, there is still some psychological impact that happens. See, we may still be dealing with the psychological impact of poverty while being rich, like Errol Spence Jr., while having the means to afford the Ferrari and to retire your parents and to get the big house, to invest in a gym or to buy a gym, to invest in the promotion company that puts other local boxers on and has venues for them to exercise their natural skills and to try to fight this battle, which is becoming more affluent and not letting that affluent become affluenza. And see, that's a little bit hard and it's a challenge for us. Why? Because we're still in spaces where we are prejudged and those prejudices play on the way we move in those certain spaces, the decisions that we make. I'll give you an example from my own life. Real talk. DUIs happen. In my lifetime, one incident, the most recent, working in corporate America, I had told my wife, look, I don't even need a car because my company is going to buy me a car. Manifested that dream in less than 2 years working for the company, had the vehicle, company card, all of that stuff. At that time, my wife had been making the ultimate sacrifice of moving where I was going, and I was moving every 7 months. And even while I was in the field, gone more than 75% of the time, my wife held down the home. But that came at great sacrifice. Her career was sacrificed, her income, her earning capacity, the value of her labor was sacrificed because every move she made, she had to come in at the bottom again. That can be detrimental to the psyche of somebody who feels like every time they're trying to do the right thing, they have to come back in at the bottom because of decisions they make. Now, when those decisions are deeply rooted in spirituality like O'Shea Linux was bringing to you, or when they're deeply rooted in the love of your people and trying to say, look, we got to come up together, which also means intellectually and in the decisions that we make, like Brother George brought out, we have challenges. What were we balancing? We're balancing this idea that I am an exceptional diverse talent. But I have to be flawless in order to maintain it because any mistakes will reset me back at the beginning. And so thus we have this dilemma where affluenza has been, I use Investopedia because it's about economics for my definition. But there are other ways that we can really look when we start to break it down. I was going to do a whole spiel on Ethan Couch and tell you about that. He was 16 and he was driving his truck. He had just stole some beer, like a beer run from Walmart, hanging out with his other more affluent friends, having a drinking party. On the way home, there was a car pulled over on the side of the road, and he was too drunk to avoid, hit them, killed 4 people, goes to court. The professional paid psychologist witness testimony says that it is due to him being physiologically or psychologically unable to determine right from wrong based off of his economic status, growing up rich. And so that murder of 4 people, vehicular homicide, vehicular manslaughter, I think was what they gave him, but no jail time. They gave him 10 years probation and told him that he could not drink while he was on probation anymore. That was his punishment. And so they took that and they put him on a probation. The guy ends up running with his mom to Mexico. They find him in Mexico, deport his ass back to America, and then he gets probation again. Affluenza, applied as a defense to the psychological impairment that brother, that non-diverse talent, non-talent exhibited. Go ahead, Brother George. You want to come in?
Let me ask you, because you said something that was key. You go to sleep tonight and you wake up tomorrow morning and you're worth $80 million. How do we separate hood life or the life that we live to now being worth $80 million and being responsible? Like, how do we do that? How do you mix that?
And why would you want to when you understand, look, successful people avoid consequences. Right?
Yeah, because
why would you want to when your economic status is supposed to buffer you? Making it into the upper echelon, the top quartiles or quintiles, is supposed to be a buffer from prosecution of the law. Rich people are not supposed to be sentenced like Bernie Madoff. How did he go to jail after generating billions of dollars? Successful
billions from other.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Hey, can I come here? Sorry, go ahead.
Let me keep rocking here. I got a couple of bullets that I wanted to bring out. A life of wealth and privilege creates a new buffer from the law. Because in a capitalist society, you are driven to get that bag. And if that is all you know, then your life is around economic success. And the things that you do are determined by that dollar value. The American culture elevates success first, even above equality under the law, even above equal rights and civil rights, even above spirituality. It is about American culture is about elevating success in terms of your economic gain. So your accumulation of riches is now the highest achievement that you can attain. And there is a strong materialistic value here that dominates our society. Got to get these talking points out because they're going to try to come after my guy. Acting under the auspices of that affluenza, there is a social condition, right? A social condition. I was poor. Now that I'm no longer poor, what do I do, Brother George? I got the bag. What do I do? Culturally, what do? I celebrate it. I buy my yacht. I buy the big home. I buy the fast cars. How do you celebrate what is your status symbol? The car you drive. What is your symbol of success? The way you dress or the clothes you wear, the suit and tie that you have on. That is how it is defined in a materialistic culture. And that's the keeping up with the Joneses mentality that becomes problematic as we have people who put financial privilege above civil right. Affluenza originates in a desire. So it's a deep-seated thing that impacts the way decisions are made on a psychological level. My desire is to, all right, rock with me. Affluenza, the inability to understand the consequences of one's actions. Why? Because now you're supposed to be a part of a buffer class. You speeding was just you getting home faster. It wasn't a violation of the law. You're pushing your Ferrari, your new Tesla that can drive itself. Even without you behind the wheel, the new Tesla can drive itself. It is the desire for financial privilege that is moving people away from their spiritual base. It is that consequences were meant for the poor people, the normal class, but not for those of us who have done so much, achieved so much. Our tax base is so much higher. Give those consequences to those people who don't contribute as much as I contribute as a rich person here. What are the symptoms? Well, there's that myopic focus on work and earning more money, strained personal relationships. Let me ask you, Errol Spence Jr. has 2 children. Where's his baby mama? Where is his support system like that powerful woman that's supposed to be right there on his right, his rib? Never see her and you never know it. Now, I understand trying to keep him out of the limelight, but that's not the case. Gone. So what happens? What are the other symptoms? Depression. Why do you drink alcohol? What are you trying to numb? Another one, the 4th bullet, a self-image tied directly to financial status. So not only are you no longer just a proud, strong black man, a champion, a warrior class person, but now you're rich. Now boxing pugilism has gone from being a sport of champions and warriors to one of a business model. This is a business, and I am a CEO. I am my own boss. And that fifth point, difficulty interacting with or relating to others. And you can see that in some of the interviews. All right, so the last thing I had was just that story on Ethan Couch. I've already provided it. The crash that fatally injured the stranded motorist, a youth minister who had stopped to help her, and the mother and daughter who had came out of their nearby home. So Couch killed a youth minister, the mother and daughter, and a stranded motorist. And that was a DUI, that murder, vehicular homicide, that person was given no time for because of affluenza. So before they start throwing those darts, let us understand that the state of Texas has a very funny way of administering the law. Let us also understand that that jail cell is not for everyone, and that there are some people like Errol Spence, champions, true warriors, true fighters, who have a bigger calling and purpose on their life not to be locked up. So whatever the speculation may allude to, we know we have value. Go ahead, bro. And I'm good.
When you make that statement, because this is difficult. My wife talk about this all the time, like hitting the power. And just say you and your wife tomorrow hit the Powerball for 60 million or whatever. And you know, I go to sleep George making, I wake up George making, but now I'm $60 million richer. Taking from the block. You know, I still got crazy family members, and you know what? To keep George out here and to be responsible for his family, you know, some things you're gonna have to say hi to. Some, you know, what type of protocol behavior she exhibiting, because I see a lot of people bring judgment on a brother, but when you know when you come into that kind of money, so like what happened, I'm trying to articulate it right. When you come into that kind of money and you begin to like move your children in a different place, do different things, they call you a coon. Oh, now you done sold out. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to have better than what you had before you had it. And you try to produce better, but now you a coon. Now you a sellout. So what happens is, I think a lot of our people that still want to stay B1, when they come into those M's, like where's the middle ground? How do we find that middle ground? Because when I seen that, to me, that's just, I haven't matured into my money yet. I haven't matured into my spot. You know, I'm still, you know, I got this money. I'm still in that place. You know what I mean? And I'm just trying to figure out where's that happy medium, because you're never going to make everybody happy. It's just not going to happen. You're going to think you own something, all that kind of thing. But if I'm worth $60 million tomorrow and I still want to be B1 to my family and friends, where's that happy medium? Because some things that I do right now as George Macon, $60 million George Macon, it's just, I'm not going to be that accessible.
Now, you're right. But I think what you're also identifying is that there are some behaviors that you may be allowing yourself to participate in even today without the $60 million that you're cognizant about.
Yeah.
You are very conscious to some of the behaviors that you exhibit even today without the $60 million. On the other end, there is a you that is doing something for free that does give you a fulfillment. Now, if $60 million would enhance your ability to do that, and that it limits the amount of access that everybody can have to you now. Like, not everybody can have access to you, because a $60 million George Macon has X, Y, Z, you know, A to Z, and then A to Z again, all lined up of things that could contribute and grow the George Macon that George Macon is on the inside without the 60 million. Now, if that's the case, then you're righteous, brother. You are righteous. The cutting them off and cutting off the bad behaviors, that's something that a lot of us are cognizant of anyway right now. So to make those changes, it starts for many of us even before the idea of affluence comes into the picture.
I agree with you 100% on that, Brother Moses, because this just me, something I personally try to do.
You know what happens?
I believe in the idea of, look, see yourself being rich, but when you see, if you can see yourself being rich, whatever it is that you're doing while before you get rich, that was most of the time that's going to determine what you're doing when you get rich in most cases. Like
Right.
if you are a very giving person before you get rich, if that's
Yes.
who you have, if that's who you are, then guess what? Once you become rich, you will still have that same giving spirit. But I would say this about getting rich. One thing, look, one thing about being rich, it will not allow you to run in the same circles that you have always ran in when
Right.
you were poor.
Right. Right.
You can't
Mm.
run them. You can't be around those same people. You can't. They will not allow you to be because believe it or not, now look, and I had to go back to the Bible on this. It said, look, even the poor hates the poor. So guess
Uh,
what? That is enmity between the rich and the poor. Now, even though you may have that giving spirit, you have to separate yourself from that location you are in so you can able to so you can clearly be able to even give better because as long as you stay in that situation or that area that you're in, number one, you having that much money, it's going to drive up the land value where you are. You drive up that land value, you're going to piss a lot of poor people off that can barely even afford to stay there where they are at that moment.
mm.
So therefore, look, they're not going
Wow.
to look. I hate to say it, this family members, friends, and all, they not going to let you be there. You can't be there with that kind of money. You have to go somewhere else. But now, who you become, now that's a whole different story. Because if who you become,
Yeah.
that was in you to begin with. It just
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah. But I
manifested
think.
because you didn't have the I'm put like this, we didn't have the financial means to use it as an excuse to be able to do it.
Yeah. But I think what happens is Moses says something that was key. We are already moving consciously and thinking consciously and bringing information. So a George making today get $80 million or $60 million, I probably would spurge a little bit. But I'm 44. I'm in a different place. I'm married. I'm slowed down, and so but when you take a young guy that's not as conscious, a lot of times their mistakes is played out in the cameras. They're growing up in front of you, so they're making all the mistakes in front of you. They don't get conscious until they get conscious growing up in the cameras. So that's why I'm saying, like, for me at 44, that already done live, I lived my life. It's like, okay, I got this bread. It's kind of like in my life, I already know what I want to do. I already seen the pitfalls, the ups and downs of certain shit, been married. But you take my son at 27, you give him that same $80 million, and he ain't get all the way there as far as consciousness and woke. All his mistakes is going to be seen. So now you take a young Errol Spence and you give him that money, and he's growing into his consciousness right now. So he's going to make the mistakes, and he's going to make them out in front of everybody because he's a public figure. And
Mm-hmm.
that's so then the question asked, when you get that kind of money, like, I happy medium, because I know for me, separating me from my son. I know for me, if I'm worth 60, $80 million, I don't want to be around the super rich that's been rich because I'm new money. I don't like them snooty people. And I don't want to be on the block with. I don't want to be on the block with Bootsy and Pop Shot either. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to tell Bootsy and Pop Shot, listen, y'all can start a business. It's something y'all want to do, but we can't do the same things we used to do. It's just not. I'm telling them that now. But I don't know if my son would be conscious enough to make those same decisions at 27.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if because he hasn't grown money.
The celebrity effect.
Right. He has to grow up first. And I just hope that this incident grow up Errol Spence quick, because like, see, the thing is, they don't get the benefit of the doubt when they grew up in the cameras. We just judge them, not realizing that we did the same shit. We just don't got the cameras on us. So how do you find that happy
That's
medium when you say, yo, I can't hang no more, man? I can help you out on certain things you want to do, but then some people you ain't gonna help. You just gotta roll. You gotta get to a different place and help the ones you can. because like I said, it's just a bad influence, man. I mean, you gave me $60 million or $25 million, man, when I was 25. Man, I don't know if I'd be alive. We just keeping it 100.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. As I said, about 1 hour. We're at that 1 hour and 5 minute mark.
Okay.
There are some great streams going on right now. Brother O'Shea, I know, just went live. I saw Sonetta TV. He had an icon that popped up or a notification that popped up for me. So if you rock with the conscious community, Sonetta is the source of that content. The brothers in the manosphere are still holding it down over on O'Shea's platform, and I think I may have saw one other person go live. Let me check my notifications so I can shout those folks out. All of those channels are accessible. If you haven't added them, be sure to add them, like, and subscribe. Those make sure you hit that bell notification so you'll know when they go live. Let's see who we have here. How do I scroll down this thing and see who? Let me see. Oh, that's my cousin on Facebook. She gets no shout out. I got $100 in Postmates. Boxing Ego. I would consider him B1. Marijuana shortages in January, reports the Chicago Tribune Business News. Okay. Looks like that's all the YouTube content creators that are going live in my notification stream. As I said, we got a job to do. We have work to do to continue to celebrate and support each other's channels. They don't always send out those notifications. As you will see, there may be somebody live that you know of that I'm not even able to drop. I may be subscribed to them, but due to some fancy algorithms, oftentimes I may not get that notification. So if you're somebody who comes to this channel, you know that I'm B1 Network. We deliver content. We got work to do. Big shout out to Brother George Macon too, his channel, for coming on. Be sure to like and subscribe to him. And O'Shea Linux, my elder, appreciate you for being the first to come on, spreading that knowledge about spirituality, its value. This topic has been Errol Spence Jr. and Affluenza. Does he have a defense? I say yes, we always stand behind ours. If we don't, no one will. Peace and black power. Salute to y'all.
Peace.